So, October's a really busy month for the WordPress community. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's WordCamp Baltimore, which is on October 18th, and there's still tickets available. They're $20. It's kind of just like this meetup, but all day, and with a lot more WordPress people. So if you enjoy events like this, you'll probably want to check out WordCamp Baltimore. Also, there's WordCamp San Francisco that's happening this month. Obviously, there's no tickets, so you can go and fly there and attend to it. But you can buy live streaming tickets, and they're only $10 for both days, so you can sit at home on your comfy couch and watch the talks that are happening live.
And there's a slightly more expensive ticket that comes with it.
There's a slightly more, you get a T-shirt. So you do a live stream and a T-shirt. Our next meetup will be in October, and we'll announce details about that on meetup.com. I think that's it. Any other WordPress announcements? No? Covers everything? Okay. So next up, we have Courtney O'Callahan. I never say her name. I'm bad at names. And Beth Soderberg. And they're going to talk about leveling up, so becoming from a WordPress beginner to becoming a WordPress guru. And they have a different title for it, and I'll let them explain that. So.
Feminist Beginner's Guide to Quality.
Courtney and Beth.
Hi.
All right, so I am Beth.
Courtney. And we're going to talk to you about leveling up. And though many of you are advanced, some of this may be very useful for you when it comes to perhaps leveling up on equality tech and unicorns as a trifecta. And we know that that's not talked about often enough. All right.
This is us.
We wanted to make sure you saw at the bottom. We noticed Tracy mentioned this, that
We were all there.
we were all there.
Yeah.
We were
That's
all
okay.
looking at each other wondering why we were there. All right, where to begin? So, why are we here?
Courtney's going to go first.
So, this is a resource for people new to WordPress, but not just WordPress itself, the software, the meetup, or the community. This is for people who are new to any one of those. Some of us have been developers, but quietly at home. That was me, honestly, until I got into WordPress. Or some of us started in the community, and that's where we worked ourselves up, which
That was me.
you bet. So my story. I was afraid of computers. I know, this is funny. I learned how to use the Avid video system in college because I was doing my thesis on reproduction of patriarchy by women in the family. I'm not joking, it was riveting. And at the time, you used it VHS to VHS. But there was always someone in the editing room using VHS to VHS. So we had this awesome Avid system that some alumni had donated, was worth $10,000. Not a clue how to use it. I could not find things if I didn't save it into my documents. And I would call friends if that happened. So there were these two tech guys who worked there every morning at 7 a.m. when I got there in hopes to be the first person that got into the editing suite. And every time I lost, they were like, you just need to use the Avid system. I was like, oh, I don't think so. They're like, you work at Starbucks, right? I said, yeah. Bring us coffee, we'll teach you how to use it. Really? Yeah. So I brought them coffee every single morning at 7 a.m. And every morning at 7 a.m. they walked me through what to do with the Avid system. And so I went from being afraid of my computer to being able to use that. And when I applied for an internship at the Smithsonian, I applied to be able to do labels because I wanted to do something that had to do with anthropology and all of the things that I had studied. And I got picked up by the web department instead because I knew how to use an Avid system and it cost them way too much to train people to use it, and they had one, and I was cheap labor. And I worked throughout the summer and they hired me at the end. And I've been doing computers ever since.
I took a slightly different path. My first job was at the Feminist Majority Foundation, which is where I met Courtney. That's where the feminist part of unicorn, blah, 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 that Courtney came up with from. But I was an executive assistant. I had studied women's studies and psychology, which is, the pinnacle of useful degrees in undergraduate education. And though I really enjoyed college, my life as an executive assistant was sort of intended to be a temporary thoroughfare. I graduated in 2008, and I thought, I'll work for a year, then I'll go back to school. And the economy just totally collapsed. And then I moved to Peru. I really, really, really need to not get laid off? How do I make myself invaluable? And one of the ways that I made myself invaluable, we sort of sat across the hall from each other, and Courtney had noticed that though I knew nothing, and by nothing I mean less than nothing, I didn't know how to write a link. Like I was so new, I hadn't even like changed my AIM colors or anything, right? In high school, how everyone else did. Okay, so Courtney noticed that I was actually pretty intuitive about computers and using them and all these things. So she started to teach me things. And at first it was, ooh, job skills, this is useful, maybe I can find a new job because of this. And then slowly it became, this is kind of fun. This is better than writing, which is what I do all day and I hate. So I slowly shifted over, and then I did the web design program at the Corcoran College of Art and Design, which is no longer. It's very, very sad. But that was a lovely, lovely program, and what I learned from that program was a lot of design skills, and also that I was already a pretty good developer, and I had no idea. I went into my first web development class totally terrified, and then I started to argue with the professor about which way was better to do something, and we got to the final project, and I was like, hey, can I just make my own custom theme because I can do the project in an hour, and that doesn't seem useful. Don't stray too far from the assignment. But that's my story, and so now I'm a front-end developer, and I spend my days doing things like making responsive pentagons, which was a big major achievement this week. So if you ever want to talk about responsive shapes, I'm very passionate about that. So moving on.
Alright, so this is a disclaimer. We wrote all the things down and we know how to share. What do I mean by this? We're going to go through a whole bunch of slides and sort of the complete opposite of Tracy's talk. Instead of having actual useful links in code, we have a whole bunch of memes. And they are useful though, and they get a message across. And at the very end, we have pages and pages of links. But it's a pain in the butt to write down links, so just go to our slides and go to the links when you go home. It's like no point in writing them down here.
So this is a talk, as I said, intended for beginners. So why would a beginner be here? Why would they be thinking maybe I want to be interested in technology?
Maybe you're new to WordPress.
Or you don't want to be a developer.
You want to be a developer.
Sorry. You want to be, but you don't know how to get there, which was me for a long time.
You're the only insert minority group here, and that's sometimes disconcerting.
You're afraid that everyone thinks that you can't do this. Super common, even for people who already can do it.
Imposter syndrome. You think you can't do it.
And there's way too many places to start. Do you start with WordPress? Do you start with Drupal? Do you start building static sites? Should you really start with Sass? Should you learn CSS first?
Oh my god, I don't know HTML.
Ah!
You majored in creative writing and poetry first.
So why haven't you started? And where do you start and how do you choose?
But this isn't a suggestion, don't leave. Seriously. These are the excuses that we hear people use when they're afraid to move to the next level. And even if you're not a beginner, you may find yourself saying these types of things.
This is something I still say, and someone still corrects me. Someone like me can't do that.
I suck. I'm a fraud. One day, someone will find me out. So this is called imposter syndrome. And this is really, really common in the open source community. But I found the more I learn about imposter syndrome, the more I realize it's really common in everything. We talk ourselves out of all of it. You're not a fraud, and no one's going to find you out. I find myself on really bad days at work thinking the only reason they hired me was because my husband, who used to be a journalist, helped me with my resume. Like, I have no qualifications, I have no clue why I'm here. I really need to find another job. And then I sit down and realize, no, I actually belong there. I am good at what I do. And it's okay to know you're good at what you do. It's not a bad thing to know that. It's not nice to rub in someone's face, I'm better than you are. But it's okay, there is an in-between. It's okay to say, I'm good. Because
You are awesome.
your friends think you're awesome. But going back, did I mention I don't look like anyone here?
Maybe I don't belong here, right?
You're not imagining things.
And this is just one of many statistics, and we know there's a lot of them, and we actually dug around for all too much time looking for an accurate one on this, but here's one that we found to be kind of sort of reliable. In 2005, women made up 24% of computer science students. By 2010, that figure had dropped to 19%, according to the Higher Education Statistics Agency. A 2012 report from the Creative Skill Set found that only 29% of the interactive media industry in the UK is female, and the majority hold positions in art and design and communications rather than engineering. Now, I'm the only woman on my team, and I know that's true for a lot of women in this field and a lot of other, fill in the blank here, people who qualify in that situation too. And the key here is how they're counting, right? If your art director counts because they're working on web design, that's why people come up with so many different numbers. But on a day-to-day basis, how many other women developers do I know? Not too many. How many times do I go into a meeting and someone doesn't believe I'm a developer, and they think because I work at a PR firm that I must be writing press releases all day?
Or you're the intern.
Or I'm the intern, which, thank you for bringing that up, has been happening lately.
So we're here to say, so what? You belong here. Unicorn power. We're not going to talk about you not being the right person to be there. You are a unicorn, and unicorns always belong. So your typical spaces, you say, I know, I'm a white and Asian male, what can I do? Very good example, co-founders of Pinterest, white and Asian male. These are, I think the statistic is 85 or 90% of the development world. It's not bad if you're a white or an Asian male, it just means that you are the majority, and being aware of that is a good thing, because then you can actually talk to other people and be like, hey, I don't see a lot of other people that don't look exactly like me here. What can we do?
And so, how do you promote diversity if you're part of the majority? One of the most important things you can do is, and one of my teammates did this on his first day of work. He saw my little feminist buttons and he goes, oh, I totally know I'm privileged. And I was like, whoa. Who did we let join my team? Because I love you already. When you recognize your privilege and just sort of recognize like, hey, I am comfortable when I walk into the training because I fit in. And no one looks at me like I'm crazy when I ask a question that maybe I'm not sure if it's a dumb question. Dumb question. Questions are dumb. But everyone can build other people up and encourage them and make sure that they don't get so frustrated that they quit. Because when you have all those little tiny micro inequities, and by micro inequity I mean little things like
You keep getting mistaken as the intern.
yeah, or my personal favorite employee, and I don't even know if I told you this. Yes, I did. That's a lie. I sent her an email immediately after. I was in a meeting. It was with an outside agency, and I was introduced by my boss as the WordPress expert.
Sorry, thanks.
On my team, I am the WordPress expert, and I was proceeded to tell me what WordPress is. Like super basic. Like maybe I was the client who wasn't sure what the website was, but I needed like that kind of description of WordPress.
Perfect.
And so I name dropped. And then they just seriously. But I should have never happened. So we went to some stuff about it.
Talking about two things, and you'll see in the article if you're interested in it, interested in either whichever side you like to fall, of microequities and microaffirmations. And just a quick thing on microaffirmations, so you know what that's about. There's a great article about this from this guy who is an Asian male, decided to go into computer science and knew nothing about computers at the same level that I was at when I got into college. And he's taking classes with one of his best friends who went to high school, female, she was like Hispanic, they're taking classes, things would get hard, and they would say to her, this isn't going to get hard, are you sure this is the major you want to be? And then he would have trouble and say, oh, you're totally going to get this is going to be really easy. And so it didn't matter what he did, because he looked the part, he was encouraged to be the part. And because she didn't look the part, it wasn't that they told her level up weekend where you learn how to function in school. He dedicated his time to help me find this. And then it was something that had like a closed door where somebody would be there to open the door the whole time. And instead of having one of us have to do that for the first part and get down there early in his part and do the second part, he did it himself. And he didn't complain, he didn't make a big deal out of the fact he did it. He brought a book, he hung out down there and sat all day for 2 days opening the door. And when it was lunchtime, he helped bring in the lunch and he asked if it was okay if he could function with us. Because he didn't want to mess with the safe space that we created. And for some people, it would be perfectly fine if he didn't join in. But for some people who have had a lot of negative responses from men in this, it was really important for them to have a safe space. So that's not saying you have to do that, but the fact is he knew he could learn this at any time, and this was a really important opportunity for some people. And he took the time at his schedule just to help. Not give an answer, not be a savior, but just help. It's so awesome. So reasons you might give yourself for not loving enough or not doing this community.
I didn't study computer science, so
We both study women's studies, poetry, psychology, anthropology.
this is actually
Poetry is really good for women. You didn't hear. You know what I mean?
my first thing.
Everyone does. We all know that you were right.
Okay.
She is a king of nations.
Always back it up. And if you don't know how I'm doing it, yeah, don't do it.
So that leaves us with where are sometimes that support is more of a product.
This is the official documentation for WordPress. Some of the products is very technical and scary. Some of it's really not. And some of it, if you get to it, I don't understand any of those. It'll give you the words that you should do.
The other one is WordPress TV. This talk and all the talks that people do at work and meetups all around the country and the world go up on WordPress TV. This portion of the talks that are given at work are on WordPress TV. Sit down and watch them. I've been known to listen to them while like doing housework or doing other things. They're really useful.
We are a few fans of them. And
When you work for a nonprofit that won't give you training or
yeah. Especially leading, we were very I was very self-funded. $50 and it's full week.
local meetups, where you're at, WordPress forums, all of us have volunteered, and Tracy's volunteered, and probably a good portion of this group has volunteered on the WordPress forums. You can get answers there, if there isn't an answer already there, you can ask, and there's someone who will help you. Usually, and if they're not, there's some really good moderators who will There's also specialty groups. Remember the unicorns and that problem? Sometimes you want to go somewhere that's already full of unicorns. You don't want to be the only unicorn in there. I'm not saying exclusive to unicorns, but like a unicorn positive space. This is a great way to also meet other unicorns to travel with you. And we have a ton of links, but we would love more if you know them. But it'd be
So, advanced travel tips. The first word that I would do at the beginning of January in Ohio, and we got lost. So we're like walking around further than Boston, trying to figure out what's the city. And the guy behind us. They're awesome, crazy. But I went and I had no idea what it was. I was walking by it. And it was scary for me. I've always been very, very positive. Brand new people. I think WordPress in particular, where so many levels of practice apps.
So that's the end. Thank you very much. And here are just a quick idea of what resources we have. This is about imposter syndrome. If that's familiar, you know someone that makes sense, we like to share about that. Here's some about being a unicorn builder. There's a lot for women and less for men to fall into that, but there's a lot more, and we know what's in some of us. Here are some articles that recognize privilege. Resources on the W community, learning resources, books that we like, some of them that you already saw. And the slides are up also.
Anyone have one of the local things? She's in Sunset. I'm not sure of it, but I've worked with them for a little while, and they're having a about it today. But it's basically if you know anyone, it's a series of entry-level workshops throughout the month. So go find the things that I figured out, and there's more information on it.
Any questions for them? we like to look at people who are looking for jobs.